Hey, you crazy cats! 42's live streams and videos are simply not available on vinyl. You will have to go to the YouTubes for that. So if you want content about British traditions and culture, cutting edge social commentary from an unapologetically patriotic perspective, along with a side order of madness you simply will not find anywhere else, then this is the place for you. And to all those early adapters in the chat, don't forget to hit the notification bell. That's how you get the good stuff, and make sure you never miss a tasty treat. So with that being said and done, squeeze yourself in. Let's get into it. You know you want to. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Please delete as applicable because the internet is worldwide. Time zones are still a thing. And by God, I think I've cracked it getting this stream started. For now. And can I get a wee audio check in the chat there, please? Make sure this is actually going out live. And I will say a couple of hellos to the couple of comments that I've got here. First one in was Mr. Captain Paga. Quack, quack. Yes, if that makes no sense to you, stay tuned. It will soon. And the Spanish chicken is saying that is the wrong channel for that. Technically, yes, but whatever. And here we have, I would believe that would be a French special K on the acid, possibly. The wonderful, delightful, sexy Emma G is in. Evening. Pack is telling me the audio's good. Excellent. Thank you very much. See, I'm really not good with languages. Sometimes I struggle with English. But yeah, thank you. That's Italian. Anglo-Saxon. Evening, brother. Oh, no. I'm not a quack. I'm more of a rubber duck. Hoit. Where was I? Yes. So, before we get into any of this, we will do our couple of shout-outs. And the first one would be, 1 second. That doesn't bode well if I'm having to start coughing already. Get some liquid. Right, sorry. First one, Robin, Courage is a Cure, Australian guard, who will keep up to date with what's going on in the world with woke politics and everything like that. Oh, wrong order. First one I should have done. Although I haven't said that, Robins could be at any time on any platform because it is a bit sporadic. Also, with her being in Australia, with her being in Australia, the time zones are all a bit weird. So there's that. Now, tomorrow evening, Ragnar Arnspear, I believe, will be streaming from 7 o'clock with a guest. Really not sure what the fuck goes on over there now, but I believe the show is still going. I have other things that I'm busy with on a Sunday evening at that time. Now, another shout out would be Rich, RPW Media, whose show I made a brief appearance on last night. It was spontaneous. He asked me on. I came on and had a really nice chat. I believe one thing I did find out was because it was spontaneous, I'd had a beer or three, and on the Hogmanay stream, coming up at the end of the year, it's a party I will be partaking of a beer or two. And judging by last night's escapades, it shall be less beer than I actually thought I was going to be, because holy fuck, being a little bit too late on stream is not good, and trying to juggle with the comments and the conversation and all of that. So yeah, I shall be having a beer or two in the Huggingly stream, but it shall be not be too many. Now, oh yes, well, I'm on the subject of Rich, but RPW Media, he does a live show every Friday night. He covers everything that's going on with politics in the USA. Really good show, really well researched. Yeah, Richie lad is a nice fella. Yeah. Oh fuck it. I don't know. It's one of them things. But the only thing I'm going to say is he had his son on with him, Richie, who does music, some of which I'm going to play in a while. And there is a call to action coming with that, because he's in like he's one of the people on the pool. He's kicking our ass, and I'm going to be giving you the link to go and vote on that shortly. Other thing, handcrafted by Emma G. If you want any Christmas marbles that are personalized with doggy treats or anything like that, Handcrafted by Emma G has got you covered with all of that stuff. I'm just getting some photographs up. One second. Oh yeah, we'll do this one. Bump, bump, bump. These are not warbles. These are other stuff that Emma's making. We see. You'll see them. They're flipping class. They are. Check these out. They're the. See, can I zoom this in? No, not really. I could do this. Oh, that memory. Well, these are the things that you put in the pins and you do all the little stringing all. They are absolutely class. So there's those, and if you want to actually order anything from the Handcrafted by Emma G, I will give you a QR code. Yep. You can scan in that QR code, and that'll take you to the Facebook page and the shop. And if you want anything, you'll know where to get it. She's doing lots of lovely crafty stuff. It's all very good and very good value. So there's that. And oh, more people are sneaking in. Arms, what about you? There's Amanda Lee. Welcome aboard. Commander Classified's in. Ludwig, what about you, chum? New World Order Crumbo. Right. Right, so we'll take that down. Ah, shit. I took down the wrong page. Remove. Oh, all right. That makes sense. Sorry. Right. And where's that leave me? Yes, the one, the only, the Dave, Waffle House. Home of the Friday Night Duck Race, where you can indeed participate in all manner of ways in order to gain yourself a duck, get a duck in the race. All the ducks go down the race. Whichever duck wins, and then that person goes on to the Wheel of Doom, and a prize will be selected for them at random. But the Waffle House is much more than that. It's pretty much like the pub, the little hub that you can go to and uh, chill out with like-minded people. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of people tend to think that it's a scam or a fix or rigged. Yeah, but I honestly don't believe it is. I believe it was rigged. Then Field Marshal Don Browning would have won it by now. With that, and we're 10 minutes in. We're going to do a musical interlude. Boom, boom, boom. Yep. I'm sure we could find this. Yep, here we go. We're gonna have our first musical interlude, and then I will be asking us all to go and vote on something. This is Richie Fowler. This is RPW Media's son. You know his dad. You know his uncle. He's a very talented guy. So have a listen to this. This is Richie Fowler.
I come from a split up home. I spent life not knowing where to go. So don't ask me where I'm at on my road, cause I do not know. I don't know. If you ask me where I'm from, I'ma tell you at the bottom of the barrel, trying to be someone. It's hard to choose where to go when you are all alone at the split in the road. I was brought up in a can, spilled out, now here I stand with a lot of lessons and a hole in my bag. Yeah, I'm trash. I'm trash, baby, yeah, I am a low life. Damn proud about where I stand. I was always told that I can, or I'm not the man, or had a messed up plan. Yeah, I'm trash. Proud of who I am. Used to wake from a cold sweat. I was hearing chill screams, panicked as the blood drip. That's my mama crawling down on the floor. I didn't know what to do as they called her a whore. I had to act fast or there'd be two in the morgue. I grabbed the towel crying, Lord, I got a sister on board. Step pops done beat her ass next door while smoking some crack. Ran fast with the Glock I grabbed. He's lucky that the gun jammed, I'd have knocked his head back. I was brought up in a can, spilled out, now here I stand with a lot of lessons and a hole in my bag. Yeah, I'm trash. I'm trash, baby, yeah, I am a low life. Damn proud about where I stand. I was always told that I can, or I'm not the man, I had a messed up plan. Like, yeah, I'm trash. Proud of who I am.
Right. That is so. That's Richie, who is the son of Rich RPW Media. Now, the next thing that I'm going to show you, stop that screen, is check this out. Share screen, share screen. Right. Yep. This is a poll, and it looks like this. That's Richie. He's doing really good. but we want to make sure that he continues to do good. So, some of you may have done this already. If you have, do not. But if you have not, nip over to this link and give him a vote. You need to leave a comment before it allows you to vote. So do that if you can. Yeah. I stuck in the chat last night. Is it okay to play this in my stream? He says, yes, you've my express permission to play this anywhere. Really cool dude. I had a chat with him and Richie after the show. Was really, really, really good guy. I really like what he's doing. So there's that, right? And the other thing I'm going to give you is the link to his YouTube channel. And if you want to sub, there it is. RPI, what about you, chum? Oh, yes. And now, this is our last announcement of the evening. Next week, on this show, in conversation, me and RPI, it's construction somewhere. I'm not 100% sure if it's a roofer, but it's that type of physical work, mate. Yeah. Yes. Next week on this show, long form conversation, myself and real piece of work, RPI, Pizzle. I'm really looking forward to that. And so there's that. Nah. And with that, I suppose really ought to get into tonight's subject, which is the burning of Lundy is the name of the strain, which relates to the Siege of Derry. The reason why I call it the Siege of Derry is because it hadn't been given its prefix London by that stage. And here we're going to give you the first overview of what happened, what the Siege of Derry was, and all of that. And we've got it from the BBC, so we will get their perspective. Just thought with it. Yeah, we do. Boom, 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 boom. Sorry. Right. Here we go. This is from today, I believe. Yes. Yeah, 6th of December 2025. Just need to check that because there is a possibility you end up with the news from last year. This is what the British Broadcasting Corporation have decided to tell us about these events, and we will see how that measures up with the reality. The annual Apprentice Boys Parade commemoration has taken place in Londonderry. It marks the anniversary of the start of the 17th century siege of the city, during which thousands of people died. The event is held annually to remember the 13 apprentices who locked the wall gates against the approaching army of Catholic King James II in December 1688. Around 2,500 apprentice boys were participating in the parade, which ended with the traditional burning of the effigy of Lieutenant Colonel Robert Lundy. That's who it is that we burn on our bonfires once a year. Visiting members of the Apprentice Boys arrived in the city on Saturday, moving the whole way across the Covern Bridge from the waterside ahead of the main parade. I'm going to check the chat and make sure that, yes, it is all good. I had a freaky moment there that possibly left this on mute. Members of the Royal Order were accompanied in the city around the city centre by 24 bands. This is the smaller of the two parades. The larger parade in Londonderry is the Relief of Derry, which signifies the end of the siege. This event actually sits somewhere in the middle, but it was under siege for a while before the king rocked up, because basically the ones on the outside and the ones on the inside were having a bit of an argument back and forth between themselves. And the ones on the outside were saying, yeah, whenever the king turns up with his army, you'll have to let us in. And that's not how it all went down. On Saturday evening, the traditional burning of the effigy of the Traitor Lundy took place in the city centre. This is a picture of the parade. This is one of the officers of the Apprentice Boys of Derry. There are three main loyalist marching groups. One would be the Walkers Clubs or the Apprentice Boys of Derry, which has like 13 branches representing each of the Apprentice Boys. The other one would be the Loyal Orange Order. And the Loyal Orange Order actually started in England. You have the Loyal Orange Lodge of England, the Loyal Orange Lodge of Ireland. The reason why it's Ireland and not Northern Ireland is because this came into being long before the border was ever in place. So it's a Loyal Lodge of Ireland, and there's Loyal Lodges of Scotland as well, and Canada, and Ghana, other such places. So these are one of the three groups that protect our traditions by making sure that they are upheld on a yearly basis. And one of the things that we have learned is that with your rights, they're like muscles. If you don't use them, they will disappear, and they need to be exercised on a yearly basis in a similar way that in a part of England they roll cheese down a hill once a year to prove that it has been walked by the people in the community. We walk our areas with these large bands and things, prove that we're here. The governor of the Apprentice Boys of Derry, William Walker, said the event was a solemn day of commemoration. 1 second. Sorry, I just had to cough there. Right. The governor of the Apprentice Boys of Derry, William Walker, said the event was a solemn day of commemoration. All of those visiting should recall the actions of the 13 young apprentices in 1688 and reflect on how simple courage and determination can change the course of history, he added. Mr. Walker praised all of those who worked behind the scenes in the run-up to the parade. The parade was preceded at midnight on Friday with a symbolic firing of cannon from the city's walls. I've got a little bit of a video of that, but it's not from this year. While a small number of apprentice boys also retraced the steps, the original 13 apprentices in 1688 made their way to the 4 original gates of the city. So this is what they're doing. They're reenacting the actions that came, that they did to actually close the walls. Whenever I go through this, I'm going to put a bit of context to it. A service for Thanksgiving was also held at St. Columba's Cathedral on Saturday afternoon, and a wreath laid at the Siege Heroes Mound in the cathedral's grounds. Mr. Walker said all cultures should be respected. Now, this is where everything's all being taken out of context and the newspaper is doing their thing, but he said everybody can have their own celebrations and parades or marches and stuff like that, he said. I believe he was responding to a question, and that's why there's an absence of a closing why this is on a little semi-paragraph by its own. And he said, I would advise anyone who wants to come to the city and cause any type of bother to stay in the house. Always wise advice. If people are out celebrating their culture and traditions, maybe if you don't like it, stay in your house and stay the fuck away from it, and then you won't get hurt. Because trying to stop people expressing their cultural identity can lead to consequences such as getting hit by a brick in the head. Just so as you know. So, why did the Apprentice Boys parade in December? The Siege of Derry in 1689 is seen as a pivotal moment in European history. It happened against the background of the post-Catholic King James II's attempt to regain his crown from the Protestant son-in-law King William III. Basically, what had happened was the king was ignoring Parliament, and Parliament sent dignitaries and communications over to William and said, actually, this king's fuck all used to us. Would you please come and kick him out? And he said, why, certainly. And then he came over. King James ran away, first to Ireland, then to France, and then he was coming back from France to Ireland to try and get his crown back. And his army got as far as Londonderry. The parade, now held on the first Saturday of December, marks the shutting of the gates on the 7th of December 1688 by 13 apprentices who locked the walled city's gates against King James' advancing army. I think you've already said that in this article. The Apprentice Boys hold their main parade, known as the Relief of Derry, in the city in August each year to mark the end of the 105-day siege in 1689. Now, why does Lundy get burnt? Because he was a fucking traitor, and that's what we do. Lieutenant Colonel Robert Lundy held the title of Governor of Derry during the early stages of the siege. His name had become synonymous with treachery among Unionists ever since, due to his offer to surrender to the Jacobite army 5 months into the siege. So these people have been holding out for 5 months, and Lundy's like, here, I don't think this is going to work. I want to give up, because I want to give up, you all have to give up. And the people were like, yeah, no wonder would you go and fuck yourself. And he then went into hiding. An effigy of Lundy, known as the Traitor, Lundy the Traitor, is burnt at Bishop Street in Derry City every year. Londonderry City, because it's now had a name change. Those taking part in the parade will assemble in the Northwest Transport Hub at the waterside at around 11 p.m. GMT ahead of the start of the parade at 11:30. The Apprentice Boys clubs and bands will march along Duke Street and across the top deck of the Craigavon Bridge to the Memorial Hall and the headquarters of the Loyal Order. At 13:15, the parade will leave the Society Field and make its way along Bishop Street, the Diamond, Fern Quarry Street, Wapping Lane, blah, street names. The parade will reform at around 3:15, make its way to Bishop Street, around the Fountain Estate, before returning to Bishop Street via Castle Road, Fancrease Road and the Diamond. The effigy of Lundy will be burnt at Bishop Street at around 1600. And around 1630, the parade will return to the waterside via Craigavon and a police notice. So that is the basics of the Siege of Derry, and yes, I am going to delve into it a little bit more. So, but before I do that, I'm going to have a quick look in the comments. Oh, I think someone's had a name change. Yeah. That's as much of the chat as I'm going into at the minute. For now, I'm going to show you a little video of, we've talked about the checking of the gates, and we also talked about the cannon being fired. And what I'm going to show you now is a reenactment of the cannon being fired last night at midnight. Now we're past these advertisements. Right, here we go. And Boss is not here. Here we go. Share screen. Well, there's actually something quite interesting here, and you can hear that that song sort of fell apart at that bit. That's because there's infinite versions of the words for that bit of that song, and what you have is a rambling mob of a couple of different things. I think they're predominantly Scottish because it is a more of a Scottish version, but there's a bit where people will insert in the name of their band, and that's why that song sort of fell apart there, because you had a mixture of different people in there and regional variations. It's blanks. They're not allowed to actually fire cannons. I wish we could. We could aim at the water side, but it's just blanks. There's no projectile. But what they're doing is, I'm going to close this off now, and then I'm going to talk to this. What they're doing is what they're doing is reenacting what happened on the night of the siege beginning, which was they went around and locked the gates, and then they fired a cannon at the people who were coming to try and take the place over. To give this a bit of context, this happened in 1688. Now, 1641, 41, 51, 61, 71, 81, 40, just 40 and a bit years ago, because it ran up to 1649. What happened then in the 1641 massacre of the Protestants was Jacobite armies came and murdered the Protestants wholesale. The there's a song that I play. Oh yeah, a lot of orange and blue. There's a lot of orange and blue about all this, mate. Uh, so whenever this army came, the people inside Derry were well aware that had they been captured, they could well have been marched into the River Foyle and murdered and drowned, because that had happened in countless other places. Protestants have been starved to death or starved 3/4 to death and then taken over whenever they had no ability to fight back anymore. So, and this is why they were. This is why they locked the gates and decided, fuck it, we're just going to tough it out here, whatever that may bring. So there's that. Where are we at? We're at 36 minutes. Now, for a bit more in-depth detail on the siege, we're going to go to the House of Orange Heritage. The Museum of Orange Heritage. Sorry. StreamYard. Let's add this to the stage. We are going to scroll down past the Battle of Boyne and the Battle of Aughrim, and we're going to go to the Siege of Londonderry, and I'm going to see how that's looking on the stage, on the page. I think the size is large enough. Outside of the Battle of the Boyne, the event which arguably had the greatest influence on the struggle between William and James for the soul of Ireland was the Siege of Londonderry. The refusal of the people of Londonderry to refuse admission to the Jacobite forces was not initially out of enthusiasm for the cause of William. The real motive underlying that decision was the instinct of self-preservation. The citizens had believed that a massacre of the British was imminent, with the memory of the horrific happening of 1641 still valid, vivid. The fear and alarm was heightened by the anonymous letter. It's called the Cumber letter. Cumber is a little town, a little bit outside of Belfast, about 8-10 miles outside of Belfast. But there was a letter turned up in Cumber, dated December the 3rd, 1688, received by the Earl of Mount Alexander, warning him of a plan to massacre the Protestants of the North in December the 9th. The defences of Londonderry seemed contemptible. Its position was far from impregnable. The stock for provisions was small, and the population had swollen to 8 times its usual number by refugees from the surrounding countryside. So these people had not planned for a siege. They have not prepared for it. And not only that, they didn't even have what they normally have, because a lot of the people from the countryside outside have came in. And the other thing to bear in mind is how Londonderry would have been fed would have been with the food that was produced by the people that lived outside of the gates. Colonel Lundy, now the governor, had no thought of a successful defence, for the task seemed impossible. He did not hide his feelings from the people. When news reached William that the city had declared for him, he determined to send the much needed help. Lieutenant Colonel John Cunningham and Colonel Solomon Richards were ordered to proceed to Londonderry with 2 regiments of soldiers and reach the Foyle on April the 14th, where they anchored in the bay. This is the other end of the happenings from where we're currently talking about, because we're talking about the beginning of the siege. Cunningham, Richards, and the officers went ashore and consulted with Lundy. He dissuaded them from landing with their soldiers when he told them the position was so impossible that reinforcements could only make matters worse. He advised them to go back to England with ships and men, something he intended to do if he got the chance. Right, so this is it is actually in chronological order. Lundy was making moves to run away from the very fucking beginning. Lundy, in his meeting with Cunningham, had ensured that only those officers of the garrison who thought as he did were present. Others who felt differently were not invited or were prevented from attending. But one soldier uttered out what others believed: to give up Londonderry is to give up Ireland. When the rumour spread of what Lundy and Cunningham had agreed, soldiers and citizens expressed their anger, and many army officers declared that they no longer considered themselves to be bound to obey the orders of the governor. After dusk on April the 17th, Lundy's friends secretly fled the city one by one. So they were fucking gone because the people no longer liked them. All the able-bodied answered the call, and the guns were manned when James Redshanks under Alexander MacDonald, Earl of Antrim, were only 60 yards from the gates of the city, that they were closed by 13 apprentice boys. Expecting a quiet surrender as promised by Lundy after the Cunningham meeting, the Jacobites were greeted by loud cries of "no surrender" and gunfire. Lundy had hidden in the house and from there made his escape over the city wall. When he arrived in England, he was imprisoned in the Tower of London, and he, Cunningham, and Richards were summoned to appear before a parliamentary commission. Richards was exonerated, and Lundy was ordered to be returned to Londonderry to stand trial for treason, but this never happened. They hadn't got anywhere closer to being no trial. And it might have involved flames. The conduct of Cunningham and Richards had so incensed William that he had dismissed them by newsletter on 30th of April. He didn't even go on second pub in person. He just says here, "There's your orders, fuck off." Without the governor's leadership or a proper administrative body, the people were determined to withstand the siege whatever cost. Adam Murray could have been the governor, but he refused. At a meeting of 15 of the principal officers, Murray being present, Major Baker was chosen. When he complained that the military and administrative duties were too much for one man, he was allowed to name an assistant. He chose the Reverend George Walker as joint governor. 8 regiments were constituted, and each man was given his orders. In just 24 hours, the defence of Londonderry, with the personnel and material available, was complete. When all had left the city who wanted to go, and these included the old, the very young, and the sick, 20,000 remained within the walls, 7,120 men able to fight, and 347 officers. So here's the very interesting thing. Whenever they started this siege, they didn't keep people in to use as sandbags. If you want to stand and make your fight, let the civilians go. Hamas, I'm talking to you. Let the fucking Palestinians out. I'm talking to Turkey. I'm talking to Jordan. Let the people that want in. Maybe do that. That's how you, if you're civilized, that's how you behave in a siege. And the people that wanted to stay and fight, stayed and fought. On April 19th, a Jacobite trumpeter came to the southern gate of the city to ask if Governor Lundy's promise of an easy surrender would be kept. He had to take back the message that the city would be defended against attack, for the defenders had only contempt for their former governor, who made the treasonable promise. The next day, Lord Strabane, high-ranking Jacobite officer, was sent to offer terms to the city. It was an ultimatum to which would not be carried out if the citizens submitted to James as their loyal sovereign. In other words, would you take the knee? They said, would you fuck? They would be pardoned, and Adam Murray, who received the message, would be commissioned a colonel in the army and receive a gift of £1,000. So they're trying to bribe people and everything. Murray's reply to the offer was, the men of Londonderry have done nothing that requires pardon, and my own and own no sovereign but King William and Queen Mary. When the encounter was reported to James, he returned to Dublin and left the siege in the hands of General Mountbatten, with Richard Hamilton in second in command. So James went up, seen it was going to actually be a bit of fisticuffs and not simple, and he fucked off back to Dublin. The siege began on April the 20th with the battering of the city. It was soon on fire in several places, and many were crushed as their houses fell on them while the cannons found their targets. At first, people were shattered by new and horrifying experiences, but in the way of humankind, they quickly adapted to their difficult and dangerous situation. People are incredibly resilient. They will fucking mold whatever's put in front of them. Their spirit was so good that on April 21st, Mary led an attack on the besiegers, and a bloody battle ensued, and Momont, at the head of the cavalry unit making for the scene, was struck on the head by Murray's musket ball and killed. Because of the obvious determination of the garrison to hold the city, the besiegers, after suffering many casualties, decided to starve the city into surrender. For all of, if you want to know why the Irish go on about the famine so much, it's because there are multiple times in history where the Irish or the Celts have starved the British indigenous population, most notably during this period of time. And the reason why they shout so much about the European potato blight, which did not adversely affect Ireland any worse than Scotland or Germany, Holland, France, or whatever, it's because they themselves are guilty of forcibly starving many people to death. But there. An expedition was sent from Liverpool under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Percy Kendall for the relief of Londonderry. Curry's troops sailed on May 22nd, but storms at sea forced the long stop till June the 13th at the Isle of Man. Then the ship sheltered off Rathlin Island, reaching the Foyle on the 14th of June. In the meantime, the Londonderry people were defending themselves with stubborn courage against a numerically stronger and more experienced military force. They were also going out through the gates at night and attacking the encampments around the city. Distress had become acute. By June 8th, horseflesh was about the only meat to be purchased, and it was in very short supply. Tallow was a substitute food, and even that was doled out very slimly. When on June 14th, the sails of Kildare's ship could be seen by the sentinels on the roof of the cathedral, hope returned. But hope was turned to despair when signals sent between the city and the ships were misread by both. To break the deadlock, a messenger from the fleet managed to elude the Irish Guards by diving under the boom to tell the garrison that Kildee had arrived with his troops, arms, ammunition, and provisions to relieve the city. But the joy of the message was followed by weeks of misery, for Kildare thought it imprudent to attack the besiegers, and he stayed inactive at the entrance of the Loch Foyle for several weeks. Famine was rampant in the bay, and pestilence had followed in the wake of the horrible hunger. 15 officers died of fever in one day, and Colonel Baker died days later. He was succeeded quickly by Colonel John Mitchellborne. When Dublin Castle heard of Kildare's appearance at the Loch Foyle, it was decided that Richard Hamilton, who had succeeded Mormont, was not able enough for the command. Colonel de Rosen, Marshal General of His Majesty's Forces, a title conferred on him by King James. So whenever they're talking about His Majesty's Forces and whatnot, they're not actually His Majesty's Forces, because James is not the king at this stage. But there we have it. On his leaving, he was appointed to take control of the siege at Londonderry. Rosen was regarded as a great soldier. He had been sent by Louis the 9th, I think, possibly 11th, I'm not sure. My Roman numerals are not up to scratch, to command the French in James's forces in 1689. He arrived among the besiegers on June 19th and quickly made aware that not even a Marshal of France could defeat what he thoroughly described as a mob of country gentlemen, farming and shopkeepers, protected only by a wall that no engineer would describe as impregnable. Rosen soon found how stubborn Protestants could be. Yes, if one thing we are, that is fucking stubborn. The horrific story of the lengths to which the citizens went to stay alive and the physical pain and mental anguish they endured is an example of what people will suffer for a cause they believe in fervently. Kirk's inactivity angered William and the Duke of Schalburg. About July 13th, Kildare received orders from Schalburg as Commander-in-Chief of the English forces in Ireland to relieve Londonderry at once. The Mountjoy, a merchant ship whose master was a Londonderry man, Mackay Browning, had a large cargo of provisions. As his ship had been part of the convoy, he had angrily attacked Kirk and the army for their inactivity. Now he volunteered to take the Mountjoy through to bring succour to his fellow citizens. He was joined by Andrew Douglas from Coleraine, the master of the Phoenix, which carried a large cargo of meal from Scotland. The Dartmouth, a frigate with 36 guns under the command of John Lake, who later became a famous admiral, was ordered to accompany them to provide protection. On June 28th, the ships made their perilous journey up the Foyle. The Mountjoy was in the lead when it reached the boom and went straight for it. The boom, intended to prevent ships from bringing relief to the city, was sighted between Charlesfort and Grangefort. The Mountjoy broke the boom on the 20th of July, 1689, which is leading us into 1690, which is when the Battle of the Boyne was. I'll fill out the context of this whenever we finish this little bit. There was no more prospect of starving the defenders into defeat. The failure of the siege was a disaster for James, as it destroyed his hopes of conquering the north and gave William a firm base in Ulster. The relieved city was bombarded for 3 days, but on August the 1st, smoke ruins marked the camping places of the besiegers. They had retreated up the left bank of the Foyle towards Strabane, and the most memorable siege in British history had ended after days of fear, agony, and loss. The garrison had been reduced from 7,000 to 3,000 men, so there's about 2,000 men killed in this. Lord Macabre, in his History of England, when writing of the siege in Londonderry, said, "A people which takes no pride in the noble achievements of remote ancestors will never achieve anything worthy to be remembered with pride by remote descendants." That's actually quite the quote. I'm going to say it again. "A people which takes no pride in the noble achievements of remote ancestors will never achieve anything worthy to be remembered with pride by remote descendants," because it's all about leaving your mark on the circle and doing the right thing at the right time. And with that, I'm going to check the comments. Let's see. It could well be. Uh, yeah, but there's a small problem with that. The people that you would now consider the Irish are the people who were trying to attack Londonderry. This is what you need to understand about the context of who the Irish people actually are, because the people you would consider to be Irish, the Celts that live in Ireland, they are not. They're the people who would have been on the wrong side of this uh, of this attack, and the British people are the indigenous inhabitants of Ulster, and they were defending their native land. So, uh, you're descended from planters. Are you sure? Are you sure they came in the plantation? Because that would make you about fucking 1% of the population, particularly if you live in Northern Ireland. Uh, the plantation had no marked difference in the DNA of the people of Ulster. We are mainly Ulster Scots, and then you've got the Celts who arrived later. Maybe the furthest you can trace your family back is to the time of the plantation, so-called plantation. Uh, I've done a stream on the plantation. Look it up. You'll be interested in the history of that. The art, but and the people that you are, which Irish are you calling unbreakable? Would it be the ones that have handed their country over to the European Union? Would it be the ones that are also in the process of handing their country over to the Islam? Would it be the Irish who have uh, pretended to be neutral in a bunch of wars, but sent people to fight on one side or the other? And in the case of the Spanish Civil War, both. Although one side did get sent home in bit of disgrace after stealing the wages and being drunk too much and all of that. I'm not quite sure who you're thinking about as the. Well, here's the problem: the movement of people, the movement of people between Scotland and Ireland, probably Scotland and Ulster, began around about 7,000 years before Christ, and it's been going back and forward ever since. And there's been a mix to the point where we were all classed as there was a chunk that moved back and forward that much, and are that mix that are all classes of one people that they adore. Uh, so yeah, the idea that somehow in the, I don't know, what was it, 1700s, Ireland had a population change is fucking mad and delusional. Uh, so there you go. Right, and with that, we're going to have a little look at the actual burning of Lundy. Uh, Here we go. So this is Lundy the Traitor getting burnt. Again, this is not from today. This is a video that's been about for a while, but I can tell you that with the only difference here might be a different song played. But there you go. Share screen. Share. Hold on. Remove that. 1 second. Right, get that off. Oh, sorry. Spent that time trying to figure out exactly. I'm not sure exactly which James Hamilton you're talking about. Glory Hole Hunter. But I will look that up at some stage, just not right now. What else was I going to talk about tonight? Well, I've done that. I've done that. Boom, 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 boom. Right, we're doing a musical interlude, and we're going to do a song that's quite fitting for this stream. One second. This is Cromwell, Protector of the Realm.
cold winter's morn in 1641, my lovely Anne was taken by O'Conn, taken on the file at the point of rebel gun, and drowned in the murky river Bann. Hundreds more were taken at this date, but sure to drowned or buried in the sand. O'Neill's false promises ensured the same fate. I cursed his papist army to a man. Then one day horizon I did see 100 of our ships all coming to my land. And off each dead protector of the realm, and he smiled and placed a sword into my hand. Off we marched to Canada, to Aston's guarded town. Together we stormed it with Cromwell at the helm. He screamed, "You butchers, remember Portadown, and Cromwell, protector of the realm." And now I go with flowers to see my lovely Anne. I go and tell her that her death was not in vain. I tell my children about the Lord Protector and how he saved our people from the same. Britain has had some brilliant kings and queens, Elizabeth the First, and Alfred comes to mind. But the Lord Protector emulates them all. Oliver, the top one you will find. Cromwell, Cromwell, the greatest British king, strong in his beliefs, he never let us down. He fought for his people and he rid us of O'Neill, as he took our due revenge for Portadown. Cromwell, Cromwell, the greatest British king, strong in his beliefs, he never let us down. He fought for his people and he rid us of O'Neill, as we took our due revenge for Portadown.
Sorry. How long ago do you think James Hamilton founded Ulster? You do know that there is on one of my videos, there is a passage tomb up the road from me that's very fucking close, and it dates to 3,000 years before Christ, and there was towns there was like habitation, there was people, and it was Ulster. So I'm not sure when James Hamilton founded Ulster. H-A-M-A-L-T-O. Founder of Yeah, no, dude, he didn't. Uh, yeah, no, James Hamilton did not found Ulster. He maybe had like a manor home or whatnot, but he made no real discernible difference to the makeup and constitution of Ulster. Uh, the the idea of astroturfing the country did not work with the plantation. Again, it's part of your family history, but maybe have a look at what was happening in this country prior to your ancestor arriving, because he did not found Ulster. That is preposterous. So there, right. Yeah, well, the World Health Organization did say that glory holes would be a good idea, uh, for whatever fucking lunatic reason that was. And with that, we're going to have a little look about the Mary Celeste. That's what we're going to do. Oh, actually, do you want to see the big drums? Well, we do the large drums first. No, never been lost, chum. Ask what ministers? Uh, ask what ministers, Mister Glory Hall. What the if you mean ministers from a church, which church? And if you mean ministers from a government, I mean which government? Because I don't think it was fucking Colin Clehan. You know what you have to. I believe you think that Ulster's got a fucking history that only lasts back a couple of hundred years, whenever in fact it's many thousand years. The first inhabitants, the first dwellings in Europe were uh, Mount Sandal, County Londonderry. They go to 7,000 years before Christ. That's whenever people started living here. That's when Ulster was formed. Granted, it went through fucking sequences and whatnot, but it was Ulster long before the plantation. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, you're talking about James Hamilton. Hamilton, the Viscount Cluny boy, was a key figure in establishing Scottish settlement in Ulster, often called one of the founding fathers of Ulster. But it's called he's called that by people who are fucking revising the history. Yeah, it didn't start then. It was already here. A couple of people come over and had a fucking and made a settlement or two. Whoa, that does not mean founding this country or these people. I'm sorry, but it's not. You need to go back to whenever we started, which is very, very long before that. Did he have a role to play in the history of this place? Yes. Is he important? Yes. But did he fucking found the place? No. I'm sorry, but I can't allow that to fly. It's preposterous on its face. Well, I'll tell you what, the plantation and the mud flood have got the same amount of factual fucking relevance. They're very similar in how factual they are. So there's that. Nah. Oh, no, it actually belongs to the Ulster people, but whatever. Yes, we are going to have a quick look at the We're going to have a quick look at the big drums. For those of you that were watching last week, you will know that the Boyne Bridge in Belfast has been dismantled in order to make way for a street that don't worry about it. Yeah, there was a bridge that encompassed the 1649, I think, Salt River Bridge over Sandy Row that William of Orange took his army over in 1688, I think, 89, or 89, I think, and yeah, we had a parade last week over it with a band, and this week we had the big drums out. So I'm going to show you a little bit of land-based drumming. This is at Sandy Row, and you can see the mural of King William on the wall. Boom, 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 boom. Yes, it's this one. What they're going to do after this, is walk the drums into the town. We'll show a little bit of them walking. This bit that they're going over here, underneath that, encapsulated underneath that, is part of the old saltwater bridge. And there's the famous picture of William of Orange at Sandy Row with the song King Billy's on the Wall, King Billy's on the Wall. That's about this. So we'll watch these drums going over for a little bit. Just want the next door neighbour to have one. On the street, lovely. Next door, not so good. You can hear those drums a couple of miles away. I'm actually using the signal across the city. Oh yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about, chum. Glory Hunter. I just do not believe that he in any way founded Ulster. And you're never going to get anybody that's serious about history to believe that either. What did he do? How many thousands of people did he bring with him to fucking populate the place? Rise up. It changed like 1% of the population at the very most. The one thing of major importance that came out of the plantation was the walls around Londonderry that we've just finished talking about, because that was the city of Londonderry company built those walls for protecting a garrison in there. But other than that, that's the real major significance. And with that, we're going to segue on to see Mary Celeste seamlessly. This is from the Smithsonian Museum, who are seeming to be a lot better than Encyclopedia Britannica. I think we're about to find out. There's a little picture. One second, I just want to check this. Yeah, that's plenty large enough. The British brig Del Guardiar was about 400 miles east of the Azores on December the 5th in 1872, when crew members spotted a ship adrift in choppy seas. Captain David Morehouse was taken aback to discover that the unguided vessel was the Mary Celeste, which had left New York City 8 days before him and should have already arrived in Genoa, Italy. He changed course to offer help. Morehouse sent a boarding party to the ship. Below decks, the ship's charts had been tossed about, and the crewmen's belongings were still in their quarters. The ship's only lifeboat was missing, and one of its two pumps had been disassembled. 3.5 feet of water was sloshing in the ship's bottom, although the cargo of 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol was largely intact. Result: there was a 6-month supply of food and water, but not a soul to consume it. Thus was born the most durable mysteries of nautical history. What happened to 10 people who had sailed aboard the Mary Celeste? Through the decades, the lack of hard facts has only spurred speculation as to what might have taken place. Theories have ranged from mutiny to pirates to sea monsters to killer water spouts. They be the Lambic drugs. The Lambic drums are large. They were originally used in battle for organizing troops. O'Neill was a fucking Gaelic blow-in, and we still don't like him. And O'Neill was also the fucker that was murdering Protestants in the River Ban and Portadown and all that stuff that was in the Cromwell song you heard. So no, we're not. And he would have been on a different side to the people on the plantation. It's all very strange, chum. Very, very strange. Right. What happened to the 10 people that sailed aboard Mary Celeste? Through the decades, the lack of hard facts has only spurred speculation of what might have taken place. The theories range from the mutiny to pirates, sea monsters, water spouts. Arthur Conan Doyle's 1884 short story based on the case poised at the capture of a vengeful ex-slave. A 1935 movie, Bela Lugosi as a homicidal sailor. Now, a new investigation drawing on modern maritime technology and newly discovered documents has pieced together the most likely scenario. I always love these newly discovered documents. I wonder why they were undiscovered previously. My throat is a bit scratchy this evening. My nose is feeling a bit blocked, so I may be cutting this a bit shorter this evening than normal, but we're like an hour and a half in, so you're not going to be getting too much shortchanged. I love the idea of mysteries, but you should always revisit things using knowledge that has since come to light, says Anne McGee, the documentarian who launched the investigation and wrote, directed, and predicted the true story of Mary Celeste, partially with the funding of Smithsonian networks. Right, so this is the Smithsonian promoting the stuff that they have paid for. So, right, got that. The ship began its fateful voyage on November 7th, 1872, sailing with 7 crewmen, Captain Benjamin Spooner, Briggs' wife Sarah, and the couple's 2-year-old daughter, Sophia. The 282-ton brigantine battled heavy weather for 2 weeks to reach Azores, where the ship's last log entry was recorded at 5 a.m. on November. Thought there was going to be a date there. After spotting the Mary Celeste 10 days later, the Dale Carter crewmen sailed to the ship some 800 miles. The Dale Carter crewmen sailed the ships some 800 miles to Gibraltar, where a British Vice Admiralty Court convened a salvage hearing, which was usually limited to determining whether the salvagers, in this case the Delgara crewmen, were entitled to payment from the ship's insurers. Because if you come across a ship that is totally devoid of people, technically speaking, you now own it, and you take it back, and the insurers are going to have to pay you for it for what it's worth or whatever. Slightly different story if you arrive there and there's one person left on board. That person's life suddenly becomes very perilous, because on board the ship, they own the ship. In the water, with a bit of weight on them, they no longer own the ship. And whenever you talk about, is that murder or is that a burial of sea, the difference is about 30 seconds. Quite an important 30 seconds, but it is the difference between a murder and a burial at sea. But the Attorney General in charge of the inquiry, Frederick Solly Flood, stipulated mischief and investigated accordingly. After more than 3 months, the court found no evidence of foul play. Evidently, the salvagers received the payment, but only 1/6 of the 46,000 for which the ship and its cargo had been insured, suggesting that the authorities were not entirely convinced that Dale Carter's crew's innocence. The story of the Mary Celeste might have drifted into history if Conan Doyle hadn't published J. Hasbrook Joseph's statement in 1884 and his sensationalist account printed on Cornhill magazine set off waves of theorizing about the ship's fate. Even Attorney General Solly Flood revisited the case, writing summaries of his interviews and notes. So here we have a case that had been settled. Ship crew disappeared. They figured out, nobody knows. And then Conan Doyle writes a book, and all of a sudden everything's in fucking play again. That sounds a bit weird. No, we're quite friendly with the Scots here. I'm Ulster Scots. Those on big drums are Ulster Scots. I think you've been reading a bit of false history, chum, and you need to go back a little bit further than the years that you are and figure out what happened before that. You do. Out of curiosity, who founded Dublin? Because it wasn't the fucking Irish, wasn't the fucking Celts. That was the Vikings, chum. I don't know. Did you know that? Right. Back to this. McGregor's 4 previous investigative documents, including the Hindenburg disaster, probable cause 2001, applied modern forensic techniques to historical questions. There are obvious limitations for historic cases, she says, but using the latest technology can come you can come to a different conclusion. For her Mary Celeste film, McGregor began by asking what didn't happen. Speculation concerning sea monsters are easy to dismiss. The ship's condition, attacked with full cargo, seemed to relate pirates. One theory, bandied about in the 19th century, held that the crew members drank the alcohol on board and mutinied. After interviewing crewmen's descendants, McGregor deemed that scenario unlikely. Another theory assumed that alcoholic vapors expanded in the azures and blew off the main hatch, prompting those aboard to fear an imminent explosion. But McGregor notes that the boarding party found the main hatch secure, did not report smelling any fumes. True, she says, 9 of the 1,701 barrels of the hold were empty, but the empty 9 had been recorded as being made of red oak, not white oak like the others. Red oak is known to be more porous wood and therefore more likely to leak. As for the homicidal sailor played by Luigi's in The Mystery of the Mary Celeste, he may have been drawn from 2 German crewmen, brothers Fuckert and Boyle Lazarin, who fell under suspicion because none of their personal possessions were found on the abandoned ship. But Lazarin's descendant told McGregor that the pair had lost their gear in a shipwreck earlier in 1872. They had no motive, McGregor says. After ruling out didn't happen, McGregor confirmed the question of what might have. Abandoning a ship in the open sea is the last thing a captain would order, and a sailor would do. But is that what Captain Briggs ordered, and why? His ship was seaworthy. It wasn't flooded or horribly damaged, says Philip Ridgeon, a physical oceanographer at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute in Massachusetts and an expert on derelict vessels, whom McGregor enlisted in her investigation. The Discovery crew sailed it, and it was in really good shape. Briggs' life before the Mary Celeste offered no cruise, says McGregor, who visited the captain's hometown of Marsham, Massachusetts, and interviewed the descendants of Arthur Briggs' 7-year-old son. Briggs had left behind so he could attend school. McGregor learned the captain was experienced and respected in shipping circles, and there was never question that we'd do something irrational. And I'm beginning to have my own little theory about the mystery, and the mystery is, when the fuck will the Smithsonian get to the point? And with that, I shall check the chat. Right, hold on. Oh, fuck away off. Oh, please. The Mario cult. Yeah. Fuck. Do they have a circle about them? Holy fuck. Which Celtic language do the Maori speak? Is it K branch or is it Y branch? Oh, fuck. This is... fuck. Yeah. Look, Carrie Rosin, see that version of the story where the Maoris are Celts? It involves a man. It begins with the lost tribe of Israel getting on boats and going towards Ireland, and then somebody becoming and then landing, but all down, apart from one that became a salmon for 1,000 years, and then reverted back from a salmon to a person to explain them that they've been there for all that length of time, and then a long ass journey. And see if you're Genesis story involves someone turning into a fish for fucking over 1,000 years? I would guess it's a myth. I don't think there's any fact to that. I'm Ulster Scots or Ulish, Ulster British. I'll tell you what I'm not. I'm not fucking Irish. Because that term has been taken over by the Celts who invaded the settled land in 250 BC and who have been attempting to genocide my people ever since. So no, I'm definitely not Irish. Ulish, Ulster man, you lad. I'm part picked. My mum would have been picked, my father would have been you lad if you look at the body types going back and whatnot. I'm going to be, yeah, we are British. I'm going to be having this man, RPlay, on next week, and we will be having a live chat then. And God knows what all we'll get into, but I think that should be very interesting. Yep, and yeah, what are you, English? Spanish? To be totally honest with you, well, Billy, here's where it becomes quite interesting. See, under the Good Friday Agreement, we have got the opportunity of identifying as, and I don't agree with that at all because I don't think you should be identifying as a nationality. I think you should fucking be the nationality. But the two options are British or Irish. There is no actual option for Northern Irish put into that document, which was mostly a fucking Progressive Unionist Party document, for fuck's sake. So Northern Irish is not a legal choice. British is what we're left with. But personally, I would identify as an Ulster man, Ulish, Ulster British, Ulad, the original, the last name of the tribes that originally inhabited Ulster is where I would class myself as. See, here's the thing. I'm definitely British. If you ask me if I'm British, that's a yes. If you ask me my nationality, I'm probably going to say either I'm going to say British Northern Ireland, because that's what people understand. If you ask me what my ethnicity is, I'm going to say Ulish. Yeah, Ulad. That's our original tribe, or Canathai. No, I would say close. I would say Ulster. I would be more for like an 11 county Ulster. There's more than 9, and it goes down as far as Kales in the Boyne Valley. We built Newgrange down there. Don't forget. So the furry folk of New Zealand. Yeah. But this is where it's actually quite confusing, because the Celts have got 2 or 3 different origins. The Celts themselves were not a unique block of people. But the first time anyone called themselves Celtic was round about 1,000 years before Christ, long after the British Isles were well inhabited by the people you would now know as English, Scotch, Welsh, and Northern Irish. The people you would know as Irish didn't arrive until around about 250 before Christ. Britain gave up a few counties to Ireland. Fuck, yeah. The Irish currently have too many of our counties. Oh, right. I'm getting back to the Mary Celeste. Mary Celeste. We'll maybe get to the bottom of this mystery. Find out what the fuck happened to it. All right. So did Briggs then have a rational reason to abandon ship? McGregor figured that if she could determine the precise spot which Briggs and his family crew abandoned ship, she might be able to shed light on why. Holy fuck. Amazing. If you figure out where this problem started, you might be able to very much what we've been saying about the history. If you get to the part where the history fucking changes and whatnot, you'll be able to understand it and put it out in a straight line. No. She knew from transcripts of the Mary Celeste log, where notations were made before they were transcribed into the RAD, that the ship was 6 miles from within sight of the Aris Islands of Santa Maria on November 25th. She knew from testimony at the Del Garta crew 10 days later, the ship was some 400 miles east of the island. MacArthur asked Richard to work backwards to create a path between these 2 points. So what they're doing is where it was spotted one time, we'll try to work it back. ULAD, ULAD, they're Ulster people. Colin Keehan, the tribal leader of Ulster, of the ULAD that fought in the Battle of Moria, I think it was 635 AD, that they're the ULAD. Oh yeah, debate's always good. Right. Fuck, check line still, yeah. Well, it's 43. Do you know what? We're going to do a bit of skipping. 1 second, I'm going to skim, but why? I'm going to see it. Hold on. At this point, McGregor considered the fact that the captain would most likely order ship abandoned within sight of land. With Santa Maria the last 100 miles, it seemed it was safe to share the Mary Celeste had been abandoned morning November 15th after its last. So why was it abandoned? On this point, McGregor says Attorney General Sully Folds' notes are crucial. He wrote that he saw nothing unusual about the voyage until the last 5 days, which is why he's inscribed the ship's log starting 5 days from the end. The ship's log is believed to have been lost in 1855, so those transcripts provided the only means for McGregor and Richardson to plot the course of positions logged in the ship. The two then reconsidered the positions in lights of ICOADS data and other information sea conditions at the time, because they got a computer can fucking figure out what the fuck the sea was doing a couple of 100 years ago. You do not. You're guessing. You fucking ooh. Their conclusion, Briggs was actually 120 miles west of where he thought it was, probably because of and an accurate chronometer. By the captain's calculations, he should have sailed land 3 days earlier than he did. Sally Flood's notes yielded one other piece of information that MacGregor Richards was considered significant. The day before he reached the Azores, Briggs changed course and headed north to the Santa Maria Islands, perhaps seeking haven. 3 nights before the ship's log entry. Yeah, at that point, MacGregor Briggs, having come through the rough weather, having finally and blatantly sailed land, having no way to determine whether a ship would sink, so to get to the fucking bottom of that, what you're saying is, he thought his fucking ship was going to sink, and he got everybody in the lifeboat, and they sailed off, got drowned, and the ship didn't sink and sailed on. Fuck me. What a long way to say, they got off the boat for some reason. Too long. Too complicated. And with that, I'm going to have a musical interlude. And I think we shall regale you all with a video file. And it shall be the English. I can find this. Yes, we have. Here we go. Who are ye, in rags and rotten shoes, all dirty and bearded, blocking up the way?
We are English. We come from the edge of Europe,
beyond which lies only water,
ice and death.
This is the place we made our home.
Raised our cattle, planted the crops, evoked their gods from circles formed of stone, so those gods could witness us atone.
When Roman forces did invade, we fought as lions, refused to yield, and those we left out in the field, but the English, they were the seed.
Who adversity did propagate, an indomitable people who we would fight to toil and mock in equal measure, and find humour in our adversity, because that is our way. The battle-weary tribes besieged by Vikings,
banded as brothers with Angles, Jutes and Saxons, took some years of consideration
to produce our culture of toleration. The creation of the English nation at Stamford Bridge we won the day, but William was quickly on his way.
1066, the commutation brought the curse Norman invasion, a ruling class they would impose until calls for Magna Carta arose, and to all the kings the message was sent: you only rule us by consent.
So what of the English, I hear you ask? You know us as the working class, the ones whose toil, blood and sweat brought you the greatest empire yet. So you should learn at your mother's knee of revolutions that number 3.
That number 3. 1, 2, 3.
Agricultural, where mechanised planting and harvesting was married to selective breeding, we created a food surplus, the envy of the world. Industrial, where we conjured cities to house factories inhabited by a well-earned workforce to man the machines. This coupled to the ingenuity of English engineers who never found a problem without a solution. The third, the glorious one, that brought about civil and religious liberty, one rule for all, and the radical notion that a man should profit from his labours. But we are not greedy. We exported our language, our law, our sense of fair play. In our safe shipping lanes trade flows through never-ending day.
And when Britannia ruled the waves,
we used our power to free all slaves. We managed the world and allowed all others to travel in the social order we created with humour in adversity, because that is our way. Achievements we have too many to list. From this small kingdom God has kissed, we travelled the world from the highest mountain to Arctics, Kabatic, tundra and back again. The traces of our canvas are in our railway lines. that transport the world to work, our compassion in the water systems that hydrates foreign soil.
We left everywhere better than we found it, because that is our way.
I could list another thing or two, like how we taught the world to queue, but I'll leave that for another occasion. It's time to have a celebration, admire the wonders of our creation. To our ancestors, homage we must pay for doing things the English way. For we are the English, and this is our day.
Who are ye? In rags and rotten shoes, all dirty and bearded, blocking up the way.
We are the pilgrims, master. We shall go always that little bit further. It may be beyond that last blue mountain barred with snow, across that angry or glimmering sea. We are the English.
Every Englishman's house is his castle. So hoist your colours on the ramparts for England Day. Then down after St George's Day. We are English, and we'll be patriotic in an organised way.
We'll take that one out. And Linda Hunter wanted "Oh My Way," and we will do that for the outro. Trying to think what else was it I wanted to say before I fucking go. Very little. Right. I'm going to do the actual outro now. I'm going to do going down to my way. Yes, I'll tell you what I want to say. Next week, we will have RPOW, Real Piece of Work, Pizzle on as the guest. We're going to have a long-form conversation. I'm really looking forward to that. The week after that, there shall be no show. That's the Saturday that Emma and I go out with my family for Christmas stuff. Oh, fuck. Yeah. I'm not quite sure I know how to do that. My stuff stays up, everything stays up. It's one of those things. So next week, Pizzle. The week after that, no show. And then the week after that, the last one of the last week of the last Saturday of the year, I'll be having a Hug Mini stream. I've got quite a few guests coming in, and we're going to have a bit of a laugh and enjoy ourselves. And with that, I will bring up the outro, and I will put your comments all up the screen. And we'll see you all next week. Here we go. And we've got the dreadnoughts. Oh. Calm, children, calm. Yeah. The one week a year take off. Brad, do you want to jump in and take over for that night? Here we go, Dreadnoughts, and I'll put all your comments up on the screen.
'Tis a damn tough life, full of toil and strife, we whaler men undergo. And we don't give a damn when the day is done how hard the winds did blow. 'Cause we're homeward bound from the Arctic around with a good ship taut and free. And we don't give a damn when we drink our rum with the girls of old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic around, rolling down to old Maui. Once more we sail with a northerly gale towards our island home. Our mainmast sprung, our whaling done, and we ain't got far to roam. 6 hellish months we passed away on the cold Kamchatka Sea. But now we're bound from the Arctic around, rolling down to old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic around, rolling down to old Maui. Once more we sail with a northerly gale to the ice and wind and rain. Them coconut fronts, them tropical lands we soon shall see again. Our Stunsel's bones is carried away, what care we for that sound? A living gale is after us, thank God we're homeward bound. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic around, rolling down to old Maui. How soft the breeze through the island trees, now the ice is far astern. Them native maids, them tropical glades is awaiting our return. Even now their big brown eyes look out, hoping some fine day to see our baggy sails running for the gales, rolling down to old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic around, rolling down to old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic around, rolling down to old Maui.
There you go, everybody. Thank you all very much for tonight. I've been 42. You lot in the chat have, as always, been fucking amazing. Good night. God bless. I'm out of here. See you next week. Goodbye.